Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Academic Matters. I'm Joe Marbach, the Provost at LaSalle University. In this show, I'm joined by Dr. Gary Giamartino, the Dean of the School of Business, and he'll be with us in both segments. Gary, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Joe. It's great to be here.
For folks who are new to the program and new to LaSalle, can you tell us a little bit about your background? And I should tell folks that you're in your first year and you're still the new dean here at the university. So how did you end up at LaSalle, Gary?
Joe, coming back to LaSalle was in many ways a homecoming for me. I was educated by the Christian Brothers in high school. I'm a graduate of Christian Brothers Academy in Syracuse, New York. And I'm very pleased to say that, and very proud to say that the brothers had a significant influence on my educational upbringing and my outlook on life, and they made a significant difference in the direction that my life took. So I was always very grateful for that contribution that the brothers made to my own personal and professional and social life. So when the opportunity at LaSalle came up, there was a very, very strong sentimental tug on my heartstrings to pursue the opportunity, and fortunately it worked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said it's a homecoming in sorts because in your career, in a previous life, you taught at a Philadelphia institution that has one of those flying animals as its mascot, St. Joe's right down the road. Go through your career in higher education, Gary.
Well, I'm a graduate of State University of New York following Christian Brothers Academy. I graduated from the State University of New York at Fredonia, which is outside of Buffalo. And while I was there, I had a great education as an undergraduate psychology major. I was very pleased with my education, although at the time that I graduated in the early 70s, there were a number of post-war, post-Vietnam War trends that were underway influencing higher education at the time. One of which was a relaxation of core requirements. So I found myself graduating with a degree in psychology, but not sure exactly what I wanted to do. And while I had not had any formal grounding as an undergraduate in business education, I grew up around business people in my family. Both my parents came from large families, and in fact, my mom and dad were the youngest in their families, and the only members of their family that were not involved in some family business or some entrepreneurial venture. So that was always something that kind of piqued my curiosity. Why do mom and dad not have their own business, and Uncle John and Uncle Carmen and Aunt Mary have small businesses? And so it was kind of in the background for me to be thinking about that. But having as many family members as we did who had a business, who had an active business, as well as employment, really meant that on Sunday afternoon dinners at my grandmother's home on North State Street in Syracuse, that business matters were often on the topic of conversation.
So rather than talk about the Buffalo Bills, you were talking about other kinds of bills.
Right, exactly. So everything from challenges in working with employees, minding a store, to challenges in maintaining inventories, and so it was always kind of in the background for me, and I would always listen carefully and pay attention when my uncles and my cousin, my aunts would talk about business, but never thought about studying it. As I moved into graduate school at Western Kentucky University, where I originally went to study for a master's in clinical psychology, I realized that after a few courses that really wasn't my calling, and was influenced by a faculty member there who was also from Syracuse, New York, coincidentally, and whose degree was in industrial organizational psychology. And I started hanging around in his office, and he talked to me about other ways in which someone with a psychology background could help business managers and leaders understand business and manage their businesses more effectively. So that really caught my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And as I went through graduate school, I finished that program and then went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville for my doctorate. My doctorate was a doctorate in social psychology with a specialization in organizational behavior, which I did in the management school at Vanderbilt. So I started creeping back to something that was very familiar, was kind of in my DNA since I was a child, and then that led to becoming an academic in business administration.
Right. Now, and so your career's taken you to a couple of private universities, Catholic universities, but most recently you're coming to us from Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville.
Right.
So, Gary, you're in a great position to kind of explain to the folks at home, what's the difference in business education at a public university like Southern Illinois versus a Catholic university like LaSalle? Is there a difference in business education or the approach that we take?
I think there is, Joe, and the difference hits home, I think, most clearly when I talk with faculty about what we do in our classrooms, and I compare and contrast that with what faculty were talking about in classrooms at a public university. And I think the orientation that we have at LaSalle on Catholic values, Catholic social thought, the Catholic intellectual tradition, are obviously factors that are associated with a Catholic university. But I think, at least my experience, is that faculty at a private university feel much more freedom to talk about values, to talk about in our case, the faith, principles of faith that underlie our values, and to be much more explicit in making a linkage between those values and ethical behavior, whether it's in the classroom or in business. So in fact, I think that's been one of the striking differences that I've experienced since being at LaSalle, is that we are very comfortable as an institution being a Catholic institution, a Catholic Christian Brothers institution, and I think our faculty are very comfortable being business faculty at a Catholic institution. And that makes the conversations and the discussions that we can have with students potentially deeper and more meaningful than you can at a public university, where such discussions about faith and values are not encouraged.
Yeah, I've often made that argument, especially in trying to lure faculty, that it's counterintuitive, but the notion of academic freedom is expressed at a greater degree at a faith-based institution than at a public institution, where there's a clear separation of church and state, and that runs through anything that might be governmental, and it's enforced even in the classroom at some of the public institutions, whereas we don't have that constraint, and we can talk about social justice, and we do that in the classroom. I know the Business 100 class, where every student is involved, they're looking at the role of nonprofits and business plans for nonprofits, and how that has an impact on society in general.
Service is a very important part of the learning experience of our students in the School of Business, and of course throughout the university. And that notion of service that is part of our Catholic education traditions in Catholic education clearly comes out in the curriculum. It's clearly supported by our faculty, and when we look at the work that our students do, and since with our recent spring break, for example, so many of our students were away on service learning trips, whether it was in the Dominican Republic or in Central America. it's very rewarding to see what they're doing, but it also gives them a great opportunity to learn about how their leadership skills developed in the course of a business curriculum can be exercised to advantage other people, to create advantages for people who are economically disadvantaged or who have not had the opportunity to develop that set of skills for leadership and management. So I think it's a very important part of our educational program, and I think our faith-based institutions and our faith-based values are complementary to what we're trying to accomplish.
This may be an unfair question. So, is there a greater link between some of the skills and understanding of liberal arts and business education in a faith-based institution, or do you see that across the board in business education?
You know, that's a good question. I haven't thought about it before. I think off the top of my head, I'm not certain that there is a big difference. I think you could probably argue that that the liberal arts, you know, especially when you look at the core courses that our students take here at LaSalle in philosophy and in religion, I think it certainly is possible to argue that there's an opportunity for students to develop that faith-based there's a development of faith, a development of intellectual understanding for our students that might not be as clear or as open a path if they were studying in a state or secular institution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, we have to go to a break, pay the bill, so to speak.
Okay.
Although it's a nonprofit, we still take advantage of that, and we'll send out some public information commercials to our audience. When we come back, let's talk about some of the specific programs. I know we're doing some things in entrepreneurship, and we've got a business scholars co-op program that's really interesting, and I think the folks at home would like to learn about that. So please stay tuned. When we come back, I'll be talking with Dr. Gary Giamartino, the Dean of the School of Business. Thank you.
In LaSalle University's Communication Department, students learn to think and do.
Every semester, communication students create and implement public relations plans for local nonprofit organizations.
And journalism students produce Germantown Beat, an online news source for the local community.
It's great that we can apply what we learn in the classroom in our community.
Philadelphia is the nation's 4th largest media market and has 4 major sports teams.
Being in a major media market allows us to gain great professional experience through internships and co-ops.
The Communication Center is home to the university's cable station.
LaSalle TV reaches over 350,000 homes in Philadelphia and airs mostly student-produced programming.
Our communication department is ranked in the top 10 in North America for relational communication research.
But keeping with the tradition of the De La Salle Christian Brothers, teaching students comes first.
Think, do, with LaSalle Communication. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey fellow TV viewers, are you bored? Are you tired of the same old shows? Having thousands of channels to watch, but there's nothing there? Tired of sitting by yourself on your old mama's striped couch? Sitting in your room by yourself, watching someone who resembles your grandfather? Yeah, I know. I used to be just like you. By now, all hope is lost. You're flipping through channels, wondering what to watch. Boring, 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 boring. Wait, what's this? LaSalle TV. It's new, it's bold, it's great. It's not your ordinary TV.
Welcome back to Academic Matters. Once again, I'm Joe Marbach, the Provost at LaSalle University, and I'm joined by Dean Gary Giamartino of the School of Business. Gary, when we finished talking before the segment ended, we were talking about the values that a Catholic education provides to our students. What I'd like to shift gears and talk about some of the specific programs. I know you're very excited about what's going on in the school in terms of entrepreneurship. So can you give us a little background on the Center for Entrepreneurship and some of the initiatives that it's launching?
We're very excited about the emerging direction for our Center for Entrepreneurship. We've been talking about entrepreneurship education for the last 2 or 3 years at LaSalle, and I'm excited about the academic part of the program that has developed, and that is a minor in entrepreneurship that is available to all students in the university. Entrepreneurship is defined in a lot of different ways by a lot of different people. We think of it we think of it here at LaSalle as innovative thinking and innovative behavior that can help individuals move an organization forward, either in an early stage from thinking about a business or thinking about an organization to the formation of an organization, or growing it at an accelerated pace. That's how we define entrepreneurship. We also think about the potential that the introduction of innovative or new technologies, innovative or new services, innovative or new products that can help move a company forward quickly. We're seeing, for example, today, this is probably the most active period in history where we have seen companies launch on the basis of one innovative product or one innovative service. If you think in the technology fields, for example, you think about a Facebook or a Google that started with one service and then expanded, but that one service is the one that kicked off their boom in the business with such tremendous acceleration that those businesses are now household words.
Sure, and they're valued at, to me, incomprehensible numbers.
Incomprehensible numbers, yes.
When they are offered on this as stock options, it's amazing to me. And based on a single idea.
Exactly. So what we're hoping to do is to open up our students' thinking to entrepreneurship as a viable alternative to seeking a job with an existing organization.
And as you started to point out, this is not just limited to students in the School of Business. You've had conversations with the deans in the other schools, and they're very receptive to the ideas of entrepreneurial thinking in their own disciplines. Can you give any examples of how that might play out? How would somebody in nursing or social science benefit?
Sure. When you think about people who are students who are studying in a professional program like nursing, or faculty who work in a professional program like a nursing program, they're not only learning the basics of that profession, but they're also being encouraged in their classrooms. Faculty are encouraging students to think innovatively in the classrooms about how services can be delivered in more innovative and efficient and effective ways. Faculty in their research programs are also looking for ways in which they can improve healthcare through better administration of medications, or quicker delivery of ambulance services, for example. And so the orientation that we have in the university to not only understand how things work, but also to improve how things work, especially in professional schools, I think gives us a great platform on which to think about how giving even more attention to innovation and creative thinking and changing normal patterns of delivery of services can expand and create opportunities to create a business, to commercialize those ideas, and to improve the people who are receiving, improve the experience of people who are receiving the service, and also perhaps to create employment opportunities for people who would be engaged in the development of a new business.
Okay.
So thinking about think about ways in which our students can, students are, and we hear a lot today about how students are interested in looking for a job, how they have a very utilitarian kind of approach to education. The higher education becomes a means to a job. And we don't disagree with that, but we think there's more than a job waiting after a strong business education. And in the case of our entrepreneurship education program, we think that there are more opportunities waiting for people who learn about entrepreneurship, who become comfortable with the idea that they can be creative, they can be innovative in developing new ideas that have commercial value. We think that's going to work across the university. So we're very excited about the academic component. We're also excited about what we're calling the experiential component.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, one of our top programs is the Business Scholars Co-op program,
Yes.
where we put students in two different co-ops, or is it up to three?
Two different co-ops. Two different co-ops required for students who go through the Business Scholars Co-op program. It's a very unique program. I've seen business education programs throughout the country and actually throughout the world in some of the work that I've done in accreditation. And it's a very unique program. It's very rigorous. The students who come into the program are carefully selected for their capacity and their achievement orientation. And those students are working hard in their classes and also taking a cooperative education program between their sophomore and junior year and between their junior and senior year.
So these are often during the summer. They're
Yes,
taking
exactly.
full-time jobs,
Yes.
working for companies.
Yes.
And the success rate is unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
These students are employed often a week. The full class will be employed a week after graduation.
And for most of the students in the program, Joe, they have employment offers before they graduate, well before they graduate. And in the case, we cite our 2013 program, in which all of our students were placed within 7 days of graduation. The ones who were placed after 7 days were really they were weighing multiple offers and making a decision about which one they were going to accept. So it's been a tremendous program for those students, and obviously a tremendous program for the employers that are hiring them.
Yeah, and again, that's another aspect I think give you a chance to brag about our students. You do talk to employers, and that's been part of what you're looking to do, is what are the strengths of our programs, what are the weaknesses. I'm told, and you can tell me where I may be wrong, but when we hear from employers, they're very pleased with the skill levels and the work ethic of our students.
They are. Employers like LaSalle students. LaSalle students enter the workforce. Most LaSalle business students will enter the workforce with work experience, whether it's through a formal co-op program or an internship program, or we have so many of our students who work part-time to earn money to support their educational expenses. So employers really appreciate that work experience, and the work experience helps students to develop a good work ethic. They know what's required. They understand that employers expect them to be at work, expect them to behave in appropriate ways with customers and with coworkers. They know that they have to be at work on time. They understand the relationship between hard work and rewards. So that, yes, they're accepted very well.
Okay, and while we see them excelling in that work experience, they also excel in the classroom. And I don't know if the folks at home can see, but I'm wearing my Beta Gamma Sigma pin as an honorary inductee. Tell us a little bit about that. You've got a little bit of bragging rights with regard to BGS.
We do. Thank you for teeing that up for us. Our Beta Gamma Sigma is the International Honor Society for business schools that are accredited by AACSB. There are, the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business is an organization that has accredited through a very rigorous accreditation process only about 690 business schools in the world. We estimate there are about 12,000 business schools in the world, so you can see that's a rather small percentage.
Yeah.
LaSalle has been accredited since the early 90s by AACSB, so we're part of that elite group. And then within that elite group, we honor students who are our most outstanding students by invitation to Beta Gamma Sigma, which is the International Business Honor Society. This year, our Beta Gamma Sigma chapter was honored as the best Beta Gamma Sigma chapter in the world.
So it was the gold chapter.
It was the gold chapter. We just literally today received our plaque and gold cup from Beta Gamma Sigma, from the international organization. It's based in St. Louis.
Well, congratulations, Gary.
Thank you.
My guest has been Dean Gary Giamartino of the School of Business at LaSalle University. Once again, my name is Joe Marbach. I'm the Provost at LaSalle. Thank you for watching.